Sri Lanka's 30-year Civil War. The Rise and Fall of the LTTE Full History Documentary. Opening. For nearly 3 decades, Sri Lanka was consumed by one of Asia's longest and most devastating civil wars. What began as political tensions and ethnic divisions eventually escalated into a brutal armed conflict that claimed tens of thousands of lives, displaced hundreds of thousands of people, and transformed the history of the island forever. This is the story of the rise of the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, better known as the LTTE, the military campaigns that reshaped the country, and the final battle that ended the war in May 2009. This documentary contains descriptions of violence and conflict, and is intended solely for historical and educational purposes. Chapter 1: The Origins of the Conflict. To understand the Civil War, we must first look at the decades before it began. Following Sri Lanka's independence in 1948, tensions grew between sections of the Sinhalese majority and the Tamil minority over language, education, employment, and political representation. Over time, many Tamils felt increasingly marginalized, while successive governments faced growing unrest. Among the young Tamils who embraced armed struggle was Velupillai Prabhakaran, born in Valvetithurai, in northern Sri Lanka. On the 27th of July 1975, he assassinated Jaffna Mayor Alfred Durayappa, an act widely regarded as the beginning of his militant campaign. Less than a year later, on the 5th of May 1976, Prabhakaran officially founded the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, or LTTE, with the goal of establishing an independent Tamil state known as Tamil Eelam. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, the LTTE expanded its strength through recruitment, training, and armed attacks, gradually becoming one of several Tamil militant organizations operating in northern Sri Lanka. Chapter 2: Black July and the First Eelam War. The conflict changed dramatically on the 23rd of July, 1983. An LTTE ambush at Thirunelveli in Jaffna killed 13 Sri Lankan army soldiers. News of the attack triggered anti-Tamil riots across parts of southern Sri Lanka. The violence, remembered as Black July, resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Tamils, widespread destruction of homes and businesses, and the displacement of thousands. For many observers, Black July became a turning point, intensifying the civil war and increasing support for the LTTE among parts of the Tamil population and diaspora. The government later introduced the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution, prohibiting advocacy for a separate state. During the following years, rival Tamil militant groups gradually declined, while the LTTE consolidated its position as the dominant armed organization in the north. Chapter 3: The Second Eelam War. Following the withdrawal of the Indian peacekeeping force in 1990, fighting resumed. The conflict became increasingly brutal. In June 1990, hundreds of surrendered police officers, many of them Sinhalese and Muslim, were killed after surrendering to the LTTE. The war also saw attacks on villages, military bases, and civilians from different ethnic communities. In 1991, during the Battle of Elephant Pass, Corporal Gamini Kularaten, later remembered as the Hasalaka hero, sacrificed his life to stop an explosives-filled bulldozer from breaching military defenses. The conflict also attracted global attention through a series of high-profile assassinations. Former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated in 1991. In Sri Lanka, senior military officers, Navy Commander Clancy Fernando, and President Ranasinghe Premadasa were also killed in separate LTTE attacks. Chapter 4: The Third Eelam War. Peace efforts during the mid-1990s soon collapsed. In April 1995, attacks on Sri Lanka Navy vessels marked the beginning of the Third Eelam War. Government forces responded with large-scale military operations. One of the most significant was Operation Riveressa. After months of intense fighting, government troops regained control of Jaffna, and on the 5th of December 1995, the Sri Lankan flag was once again raised over the city. Although the military achieved important victories, the LTTE continued to demonstrate its capabilities. In January 1996, a massive truck bomb devastated the central bank in Colombo. 2 years later, another suicide attack targeted the Temple of the Tooth in Kandy, one of Buddhism's most sacred sites. Following these attacks, more countries designated the LTTE as a terrorist organization. In April 2000, the strategically important Elephant Pass base fell to the LTTE after fierce fighting. The conflict remained locked in a deadly stalemate. Chapter 5: The Final Phase. In 2002, a Norwegian-mediated ceasefire agreement raised hopes for peace. For a time, large-scale fighting subsided. However, mistrust remained deep, and both sides accused each other of violating the agreement. After Mahinda Rajapaksa became president in 2005, the situation deteriorated. In July 2006, the LTTE closed the Mayville-Aru sluice gate, disrupting water supplies to thousands of civilians. The government's military response marked the beginning of the Fourth Eelam War. Over the next 3 years, Sri Lankan forces gradually recaptured the eastern province, before advancing into the LTTE-controlled Vani region. As government troops moved northward, the LTTE steadily lost territory, equipment, and experienced commanders. By early 2009, the organization had been confined to a small coastal area in northeastern Sri Lanka. Chapter 6: The End of the War. The final battles took place around Mullivaikkal and the Nandikadal Lagoon. Heavy fighting continued as government forces closed in on the remaining LTTE positions. On the 19th of May 2009, the Sri Lankan government announced that LTTE leader Velupillai Prabhakaran had been killed. With the deaths of Prabhakaran and other senior leaders, the LTTE's military campaign came to an end. After nearly 30 years of conflict, the war was over. Ending. The end of the war brought relief to many Sri Lankans, but it also left behind profound challenges. Families across Sinhalese, Tamil, Muslim, and other communities mourned loved ones. Entire communities had been displaced, infrastructure had been destroyed, and difficult questions about reconciliation, accountability, and rebuilding remained. Today, the Sri Lankan Civil War stands as one of the most significant conflicts in South Asian history, a reminder of the devastating human cost of prolonged violence and the importance of seeking lasting peace. If you found this documentary informative, consider subscribing for more in-depth documentaries exploring world history, conflicts, and the events that have shaped our modern world. Thank you for watching.